Drew Sutton Leadership Show, lighting the way with real leaders, real stories, and real impact. Because when leaders stop growing, the darkness wins. All right, welcome back to another amazing episode of the Drew Sutton Leadership Show. Today we have a returning guest, and today we're going to be talking about the purpose-driven youth care worker. This conversation is about more than a book. It's about purpose, leadership, and about the adults who show up when young kids need them most. To talk to us about his new book, we have Adrian Jackson. Adrian is a longtime youth care leader, author, mentor, and licensed child care administrator. He served as the associate executive director at Cal Farley's Boys Ranch, where he has dedicated nearly 3 decades to serving young people and supporting the adults who care for them. Throughout his career, Adrian has worked in several key leadership roles, including house parent, director of intervention services and school support, assistant administrator of intervention, and vice president of home life. Today, he helps oversee areas including home life, adventure, intervention team services, and youth activities. If that sounds like a long list, I assure you it is, and that's why we have Adrian back on the show to talk about his new book. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Adrian. All right, man. Hey, so you've got a new book here. The book is called The Purpose-Driven Youth Care Worker. Super excited to talk about that. What made you decide to write a book?
You know, it's that season, right? The season of giving back. I've been in youth care worker field for 3 decades, like you mentioned, and I'm at that age now. I don't want to leave and retire and know anything. I want to be able to pass it on. Also, I've learned a lot. Like, I've had a lot of failures.
Yeah.
And I've had, because of the failures, I've had success. I've had some great mentors along the way. And one of the things, though, that I never had experienced, which was the reason I wrote this book, I never had experienced burnout or like these low points, but everybody around me have. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And people that I have encountered at other agencies. And I've heard this theme for a very long time. And where people will be frustrated and burnt out and just in a low spot with working with youth. And they would say, I feel like a glorified babysitter. So, and
are we talking about youth workers or managers?
Everyone. Like everyone, right? And so, and not just at the agency that I work, I've heard it when I was presenting it all over the state of Texas and I never felt that way, right? I never felt, I felt the job was way too hard to be called a babysitter. But I equated it to something very simple. I've always felt like I had purpose. And that is the reason that I wrote this book. I wanted to help people that, one, has lost their purpose, their connection to purpose, right, in this work, because it's extremely important work. Nothing goes right for kids without youth care workers.
Yeah, that's true.
That the kids that are in hard places, youth care workers all over the state, international, they are the foundation of working with youth that experience complex trauma and in need of services. And we need those people connected to their purpose. And so that's the basis of why I started this project a year ago. It took a year, and it is a very hard project. I wrote it from my experiences, what I learned. And one of the things, Drew, that I've done a ton of book studies of amazing books throughout my career. And there never was a book written that was really good for a book study.
Okay.
Hence, the format and structure of this book is really geared to, if you want to get a group of people together and do a book study, it has a purpose-driven action plan, very detailed after end of each chapter. And then at the end of the book, there's a workbook that helps you develop strategies and interventions to help you connect to your purpose. So this book is geared to people that work with people that either one want to continue to keep their purpose lit on fire, or their fire has dimmed or went out and needed to be lit back up for your clients. So that's kind of what's the motivation and energy behind the purpose-driven youth care worker. And that title is exactly what I wanted to do with this book, is to help people develop their purpose, connect them to their purpose, light their purpose on fire, right? And that way that they can not only help and benefit themselves, but they can benefit the youth that they are assigned to work with.
I like that for a lot of reasons. I think that in today's society, we're almost past purpose. I think that, Simon Sinek, I love Simon to death. Warren, who's the purpose-driven life guy? Rick Warren. I think they talk about purpose, but I don't think they give us a hint on how to find our purpose. And having a good discussion book that helps guide through that conversation is interesting. Did you do this with your staff or your family? Did you just kind of something that's been bubbling in you for a long time? How did you discover the secret to finding your purpose?
Well, I think it's the way I live first. I'm a former athlete. And, you develop a lot of intrinsic motivation when you're a 6-foot guy having to check 6'8" guys. And you go work. You go and you work on your game because you have an assignment ahead of you. Also being a dog trainer, where I was going to compete all throughout the state of Texas, and I wasn't very good. So I had to get out there and just work hard. And because my motivation was I wanted to win, I wanted to be competitive, right? Now, everybody is not driven by competition, right? But because I was driven by competition, there are certain traits and characteristics that I had developed from the time I was younger. And I think that has held me on. But it's the way I kind of have lived my life. But I work next to people that don't live their life that way, right? That they sometimes lose their connection to the goal. Sometimes they're not as motivated, having a difficult time finding their connection, and they need something to help drive them, right? And they just having a difficult time pulling it out on their own. So when things get hard, and youth care worker is hard, right? That's hard. When a young teenager is having a rough day and hadn't received any contact from their parents, and they're having these overwhelming emotional explosions, and they're taking it out on the first person that they see. And this youth care worker, this caring, amazing youth care worker that's just not ready for it, right? And then they're disconnected from their purpose. And now this young person is just overwhelmingly bleeding their emotions all over them. That's a hard day.
Yeah. And let me pull this back here for a second, because I realize you've been on the show before and I'm familiar with your past.
Yeah.
But I don't think a lot of people are familiar with Cal Farley's Boys Ranch, because that's the context of which some of the stuff you're talking about. So let's rewind and then we'll jump back in. But tell me what Cal Farley's is about and the type of work that you do there.
Yeah. So it's a large residential program licensed by the state of Texas as a GRO, General Residential Operation. We're located about 36 miles north of Amarillo. We are a working cattle ranch also. We have 28 homes, roughly about 157 students on campus. And what is amazingly unique about us is that we have an independent school district. So our kids are placed by their parents or their manager conservators. They're not placed by the state of Texas or not in any kind of conservatorship. They're placed by their parents. And for some reason, they have had issues, family issues or family dysfunctional issues that has led them not to be able to stay at their home. And their manager conservators place them with us free of charge. And we can take care of a kid from 5 years old all the way to 18. We have aftercare program also associated. So our kids get amazing experience. So when you go to calfarley.org and you look us up, You're going to see some amazing things. And I want to encourage your listeners, Drew, if you're coming down through 85, heading from heading to Colorado from anywhere in Texas, stop in and see us because you got to go right by our gates. And
there we go.
Yeah, so you're going to see some pretty amazing stuff. Because our kids are placed by their parents, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're free of trauma. In fact, they are suffering from the same traumatic experiences that kids that have been taken by and placed in state custody have. Our intervention are before that happens. So kids are placed with us before the state intervenes, and that way the parents can still be attached to the parents if they're safe. Now, if they're not safe, that there's a totally different intervention for that.
Right. Right. No, this is why when you said you wrote your new book, I was so excited, is that you've essentially spent 30 years of your life providing a home for kids that have gone through some pretty traumatic experiences and helping them readjust. I've recently seen in my Facebook feeds FARM, FARM. It's Fathers Against Raising Morons. That's
yeah.
And there's nothing like ranch and being out in nature and having work to do, as well as learning, a safe place to grow up. I think it's really cool work. So I'm going to roll us back to where I stopped us from. So you're on the farm, you're on the ranch here, and a kid who's been through amazing traumatic scenarios, all of a sudden is just having an episode, and they're having huge emotions that they haven't yet figured out how to deal with. And then this youth worker who's not related to them has to kind of take all of that and learn to manage it. And this is where they start to lose their purpose. When you've been in those spots, how do you kind of wade through those waters?
Well, I talk about it in the book about when I didn't do it right.
Oh,
and where and so one of the so the book is written in a couple of different sections. The first 4 chapters are about how I had to change my mindset. Right. So there's things that I came into this work believing that actually was causing me to have conflict with youth and people. So in order for me to have had that 30 years of employment, I had to have a shift in the way I looked at things. So I talk about several different mindset shifts that I had to go through. And what I am suggesting that doing the purpose-driven action plans at the end of each chapter is for you to challenge what mindset shifts you have to take, right? And then the next chapters are about the commitments that I had to make, right? And one of the commitments, and I think you'll find some connection to this, is being committed to transfer of trust, right? And transfer of trust it has to go with a mindset shift. I believe that in order for kids to heal, that they have to have an ecology of healthy adults, right?
Yes.
So I don't believe a kid needs one trusted adult. I believe a kid needs a trusted community. And in order to get that there must be a commitment to transfer of trust. And what this means is if I'm working with a young person and I'm building a relationship, and once I get that relationship established, my next job is to go to you, Drew, and introduce you to this kid and transfer the trust. So now this kid has started off with 1. Now he has 2. And then 2 turns to 4. In a healing environment, having an ecology of healthy adults to help this kid learn to manage his stress and learn to develop regulation tools and learn to self-regulation tools and learn to grow and learn and develop and mature. It needs healthy adults around this kid, not just 1.
No, this is good. So when I work with the organizations, the leadership development world has got this bad rap because it's all soft skills. We're all special and wonderful. We need to make a space for everybody. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of times folks will come through and they'll use, like a manager will come through and they'll do what I call it swiping the trust credit card. They'll use the words that say, hey, I'm going to trust me, take care of me. But not everybody that uses the right words is trustworthy. And I'm excited about, so I got mixed emotions about AI. I'm excited about AI for a number of reasons from a productivity perspective, but probably the most thing that I'm excited for is that AI, we're all going to fall off this AI trust cliff. Well, AI can replicate a trustworthy person, and we're going to start saying, I don't trust that stuff that's happening on LinkedIn or on Facebook. I know Bob, and Bob knows Adrian, and Adrian knows Drew, and it's a personal trust, right? It's people that I see that I trust, not people that are pretending to be trustworthy online. I'm actually pretty excited about that, is that we can get back to a place of being people that are trustworthy.
Yeah.
So I tell you what, tell me this. You mentioned that you had a couple of beliefs that you had to shift. Now I don't want to ruin the book, so go get the book.
Yeah.
I have, I'll post the book here in the comments here in just a second. Tell me the big one for you. For me, I had to give up trying to be the savior of the world. There was this moment at work. I had a bunch of people that reported to me, and almost an audible voice said, "Hey, man, there's been one savior of the world, and it's not you." So I said, "Okay, well, if I'm not the savior of the world, how then should I kind of rethink my actions?"
Yeah.
So for you, what did you have to shift? What was the one big thing that you said, "Man"? Tell me the story about when you said, "Oh, I got to shift that."
Well, it's the biggest one ever, right? And I think most people that work with youth will connect with this. I had to shift from compliance to purpose-driven practices. I had to shift from believing that that a kid growth was solely on the rules, the structure, the manual, the point system, all that stuff, right? Where when I said, "Hey, do this," that kid automatically did it, right? So this compliance, right? This very controlling compliance, right?
Yeah.
Because it brought in order. It brought in order. It made the day easy, right? Well, but the shift I had to make was, hey, that kid will never remember the rule I put in place. He's going to remember how I treated him.
I love it. Yes.
And so when kids started coming back and they would leave and come back, I started noticing the staff that they went to. And it wasn't the staff that was laxed on rules. It was the staff that upheld the rules and expectations, but they were heavy on relationship.
Yeah.
So I'm not devaluing rules and procedures and all that. What I'm saying is have it, but go heavy on relationship, because the relationship is what changed the kid. The relationship is your foundation. The relationship is the intervention. And so that was a mind shift for me, because, everything I've done up to this point in my life was highly structured,
Yeah.
And so structure was important to me. But when I got into, go ahead, sir.
Oh, no, I think this reminds me of a moment in my life. I paid a coach to help me work through my first product offering. And he was a motivational speaker. And so there I am at his house, and we're like working through the material. And I said this to him. I said, I was like, "Yeah, I know that you say that mindset's the most important thing, but it's just us girls here. Like, let's talk about what really matters. It's all systems and processes." And he just like looked at me like I'd slapped him in the face. And at the time I didn't get it, because I'm a pretty driven person like you. Actually, at this moment where I was like, I think I'm competitive. And my wife just like craned her neck at me. She was like, "You think?" But no, I already have a really tough mindset of, I don't really care. I'm going to get it done. And I think that you, with your athletics background, you already crossed the mindset hurdle where you're like, no, I'm going to beat this guy. And like, I enjoy the, like the kind of the eye of the tiger. That's what I listen to when I'm about to do some squats. And I think that a lot of kids and frankly adults, they don't have that baseline of competitive and success because of because of the self-discipline. So for a lot of them, it does have to start with relationship. Hey, you can actually win at this if you put the energy in. They've grown up in the scenario where that's not the case.
And that's very true. And one of the things I want to highlight in this book is how youth care workers, how important for them to be balanced, how important for them to commit to personal and professional growth, how important it is for them to be a good teammate. And I talk very extensively about that. And one of the highlighted pieces in this book is the confidence and competence cycle, right?
Okay.
And
Talk to me about
it's a
that.
challenge, right? So the confidence and competence cycle is that, when so as I was kind of learning how to be a youth care worker, like I didn't have any transferable skills. I was hired right out of college. I'm 22 years old. I had amazing parents, but nothing ever set me up for what I was going to get into. My wife and I was going to get into. There's nothing that prepared me, and we wasn't very well trained back in 1997. They gave a 22-year-old some kids, some keys, get some kids and some keys, and said, "Go and be successful." And I would never do that again today, right? I never would do that to a young staff again. I'm gonna give them a lot more training. And if you look on the back of the book, when you get the book in hand, there's actually a picture of my wife and I on our new employee days, first day of work. On the back of the book is our picture. I asked my wife for permission, and she said yes. And so you will see how young we looked to be house parents to 17, 18-year-old young men. And I was 22, my oldest kid was 19, but the confidence and competence cycle. And I wish, and this is one of the reasons I wrote the book, I wish somebody would have had this book from me when I was 22.
Yeah.
Right. And because I would have had less failures. So the book is actually a lot of failures that end up turning into later success. So the confidence and competence cycle. I started getting training. So I had a supervisor, Steve Nelson, that says, "Hey, you're going to learn how to do Satori alternative to management aggression, the assisting process," which we went over that last time we were on together. We went over the assisting process, if you remember. And that was the first hard skill that I got, right? That I was able to tackle on. And then I became more confident. And because I became more confident, I took a little more risk, and I learned life-based crisis intervention, right? So then now I'm more competent. Now I got 2 hard skills, which now I'm using them. I'm feeling good about myself, and my confidence is starting to really grow. And it's really hitting my purpose hard, right? Because now I'm taking more risks. Now I'm learning more trainings, right? So now I'm becoming even more competent. Now I'm getting more trainings. I'm using the training. I'm getting some success. And my confidence now is just out of the roof. So now it's really, I wish I had something to connect this to. So when you ask me, how did I do 30 years? It's because of that. Because every time I became more confident, I took a risk, got a new skill, increased my competence. Then I use it, got more success. My purpose got a big old shot. Got a big shot.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's a big piece of the book is the confidence cycle. And I think that is it really motivates you, especially if you are looking for extrinsic motivation. You need something to get you pushed along, right? But I do believe that without being confident and competent, then I would not have had as longevity of purpose in this career as I've had.
No, I love that. There's been a couple of points in my career where they've been pretty low. I got a gut punch of some sort. And in those moments of, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
I've always looked back at the things that I did that were really hard before that. Now, this gut punch is generally harder than the other ones.
Yeah.
But, I look back, I'm like, well, I did pretty well at those things. This is the third one. I'll do well at this one. I don't know how yet, but I'll get through. And that confidence allows you to push through those tough things.
Oh, yeah.
I think I had an older brother who was 2 years older than me, 22 months older when it mattered, right? Not quite 2 years, just 22 months. And I was always picking a fight with him. All of my childhood memories are of me being the same age as him. But if I were to tell you that, an 8-year-old was fighting with a 10-year-old, you'd be like, dude, that's not a fair fight.
Yeah,
but in my mind, right? In my mind, we are the same age. I'm going to get this guy this time. And so I just kind of always had this kind of like bulldog sort of a thing. So when I hit hard things, I was like, well, I've been knocked down before. I'll get back up. And so I think one of the things that I've been blessed with is this confidence to do hard things. And then I go out and I do the hard thing. And then I pick a new thing. And one of the things that I forget when I get one of those gut punches and I get knocked down is look how far you've come. And I go and I get to look back at the history of hard things that I've done. I have a friend named Alina, and she said to me when I was starting this podcast, she was like, "You're crushing it. Look what you did in the last 2 months." And so like I have this kind of like micro view of life, and sometimes I get like off my rocker because I'm on this little kind of, but I forget to look back in life and say, "Oh, actually, I made quite a bit of progress." I'm always looking at that little edge of the spear, sort of a thing. So for you, because you've had the athletic experience and you've been working with the kids, do you help the kids find their purpose as well, or are you just talking about purpose for your fellow workers?
Well, two things. One, a second ago, you must have read the book because you walked all the way through the reflection point that is at the end of each chapter. You did a very good job of that. There's a few more things that the book would have helped you evaluate a little bit more, come up with a few more strategies. But you actually hit the first 3 bullets. Amazing. So kudos to you. That's exactly what. So your question is, one of the things that youth workers do well, right, even in their lowest point, is youth workers do well helping kids connect to their purpose. And most time they do it in spite of helping themselves. And that's why with this book, and then at one point, it starts to work against them. It gets too far gone where they no longer can access it anymore and do the work. But that's one of the things that youth workers, because everything that you train and is taught is to help the youth, right? And what I wanted to do was like, hey, youth workers, you are important. The youth don't get better without you getting better. So I geared this straight to the youth care workers. Now, the stories in the books are about how I learned it by working with kids. All right. So I had a youth that, a young man that I wrote about in the book. And he taught me everything. I couldn't do nothing with him. I didn't know enough. Right. I was at this point in time, I was really consequence heavy, and I didn't have the mindset shifts yet. And but one day I was challenged. I was challenged by my supervisor to do something different. And this young man had a tough day, and I just went to his door. I kind of sat down and I kind of talked real soft and gentle. There was nothing amazing done, right? And the kid responded. Like the kid, he settled down. He started regulating. He started processing with me, right? And so before this time, I had in my mind that it was going to take these magical interventions to get kids to open up. That there was these magical people that had this gift, right? And in that moment, I discovered it was no magic. It was proximity, care, relationship, being genuine, right? Now, I have recognized that when you're stressed, when you're having personal life stressors, when you're overwhelmed with your own personal life, it's hard to access all that. And so staying balanced is a chapter in the book, like, right? So how do you prepare yourself to be able to be the best version of yourself that you could be for these kids, right? And I make no bones about the growth that I've had professionally and personally from the training and experiences I've had here has made me a better person, has made me a better husband, it made me a better father. And I think those things are interconnected. But without that, so yes, I believe that a purpose-driven youth care worker helps a youth be purpose-driven youth.
I love this so much because when I kind of mentioned this at the beginning of the show. I realized that I'm not the savior of the world. There's already been one of those, and I'm not him. And it kind of reset the way that I interacted and I tried to serve people. I definitely want to serve people to the best of my ability, and we've been friends for a bit now, and you can see it. I put a lot of energy into trying to serve people and set people up so that they look great on the camera, and so that when I'm coaching them, that they're a success at work. But at the end of the day, I realize I can only do so much, and there's somebody else that can help them. Um, but I'm not. If I pour myself out all of the way and I never refill my own cup, then everybody suffers. And
Yes.
There's like a cortisol response. I think probably biologically, it's probably a stress hormone, but it feels really good to give until it hurts. You're like, oh, it hurts, but it feels good.
Yeah.
And there's times, your wife gets sick. I remember this one time, all of the kids in my family, like my wife and all the kids had throw up bug. And so, I was on throw up duty all night long, and then I had to go to work the next day. There are these moments where you're like, you got to give more than you got.
Yeah.
But if you're not constantly refilling that cup, and I like what you're doing though, which is tapping into that purpose. Because I can take you out for ice cream, or I can give you a steak, or I can pat you on the back. But it's really the purpose. It's filling your cup with the purpose as much as it is like the little cherries on top.
Yes.
So for you, how do you help people find their purpose? Because that's like a big question. We all know we need to find our purpose. We all know that we're worn out and spilled out, and like the cup's got holes in it. How do you find your purpose?
Well, the very first thing you have to ask yourself is, why are you doing something? Like, why do you do that? Like, what are the reason you having this podcast, right?
Yeah.
And one is you stay grounded to that. Now, one of the hard skills I talk about in the book is what I have right over here on my wall. I have my vision board. And my vision board is a visual of how I stay connected to my purpose. And it has stuff about work on it. It has stuff about my personal life. It has stuff about where I want to be in a year. I'll give you a great example. Last October, I was a keynote speaker in Liberal, Kansas. And they was reading my bio. They was reading my bio. And I was looking across the audience, and they were like, oh, man, look at this guy. His bio is impressive. And I looked at my wife and I said, the master's is missing. So I enrolled in school in Southeastern Oklahoma. I put it on my vision board first. I mapped it out on my vision board. Is this something that I should do? Do I got the time to do it? What's the benefit of doing it, right? What's the return on my investment of going back to school? Because I'm not far from retirement, like,
Yeah.
And what I equated it to is I wanted it for me.
There you go.
So I am halfway through the organizational leadership Masters in Art program at Southeastern Oklahoma.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you. I'll be graduated in December of 2026. And one thing that I found remarkable is I'm still a student. Like, I want to make A's. I'm working hard. When I come in from the kennel at night, I'm jumping on and doing assignments till midnight. I am still the student that Washington Marion High School in Lake Charles, Louisiana has made me out to be. I'm still that student. But that vision board, right? And so one of the skills in the workbook part is, okay, what are those things for you? So I gave some skills like using the vision board, have self-reflective moments, engage in healthy conversations, doing book studies. So this book was written as a guide. It's not just something you read and walk. There's homework to do, right? Yeah. There's a whole workbook at the end where you can strategize and map out how do you connect to your purpose. There's a part in the book that says, okay, who are the mentors you need to go have? Because I had mentors. I will not be here without mentors. So I had mentors. So some people organically don't have mentors. I had them by accident. I'm saying now, I'm glad I had them. What would I've done if they wasn't there? I'd have been out absent without a mentor.
Yeah.
So now I'm saying, go find them. Take an action for yourself to go find a mentor, right? And so that are those practical steps like that to keep you connected to your purpose. And if you can stay connected to your purpose, you can do whatever your heart has desired you to do.
I love that. So, early in my career, if I have any claim to success, well, first of all, I say I've been a success despite my best efforts. The good Lord has has saved me from a number of blunders. Um, but I put in my budget early. Like I was in my late 20s, mid 20s, and I put in my budget coffee to take people out for coffee and talk to them and just listen to mentors. And then I realized that these very generous people were giving me like an hour of their time. You know, like a lawyer giving me an hour of his time is quite the investment that he's giving me. So then I started asking them before I would go take them for coffee. I would say, "Hey, do you have a book that I should read?" And then I would buy it on Audible, which is like 10 or 15 bucks. And I would read one or two books a month. And then after I'd read that book, I'd go back to them and say, "Hey, I read that book that you told me. Can I take you out for coffee?" And the conversations that I would get after I had, taken their advice and read the book, because nobody reads a book. Like you advise people, oh, you should go read this book. Nobody reads a book except for the smart people who are going to buy your book.
Exactly.
But that's what I would do for mentorship. I want to pull this in though, because your book is specifically set up for group conversation. Is it possible to find your purpose without dialoguing it through? Now, I'm an external processor, so I like to hear my thoughts out loud and I like to get feedback from people. My wife is an internal processor.
Yeah.
But I secretly think you can't really find your purpose without dialogue with others. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on, do you need partners to work through that purpose?
The book is it does both. And I think you could accomplish a lot of things outside of a book study or group effort on the book. However, I do also believe that most people need to be challenged, their insights challenged, their the way they view and their perception need to be challenged. And I encourage people to have in your circle people that look at the world different from you. And if you can have healthy conversations and have trust amongst the group, then growth comes right after that. And I am glad, one, I was a blank slate. I had no prior information that says, hey, this type of youth care work intervention is wrong, and this type is, I didn't have that. I was a blank slate, right? But most people have some version of what they believe should happen. And if they don't have somebody saying, hey, let's talk about that because I believe different. So one of the things I like to say if to people that have a belief, and I'll say, well, what if you're wrong? Is there a consequence to that? The belief is when you're talking about interventions for youth and you're wrong, there's dire consequences for that.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Man, so, that's a profound thought that I think that if I probably have that toxic trait that I don't fully appreciate how my thinking affects other people. Man, that's a good one.
Yeah. And so that's one of the things that but I do believe, like, especially people like you and I, Drew, we could pick this book up and say, we can work through it and challenge ourselves and create a whole map on our walls and metrics and data. And, but most people, sometimes I do believe they need to say, hey, I read this. I don't know if I believe it. And I want people to do that. I want them to read it and say, I don't know if I believe it. Let's jump on Zoom and let's debate it. Because if we are genuine in our communication and we treat each other well, we both are going to grow.
I love that. Well, Adrian, we are running out of time on the show here, so I'm going to give you the last 2 minutes. You've already done a great job, but is there anything that we haven't covered in the book? Maybe something that somebody should know, or maybe a little curiosity peek? Last 2 minutes of the show is yours, and then I'll wrap us up here.
Yeah. Yes. One is it's been an amazing journey. Without my wife, we were house parents together, and we still work together. She's director of casework. And I know that everybody can't do that, but part of this effort in this book is the journey of my wife and I. And we did this together. Like that's why it's both of us on the back page, a picture of us. I wrote the foreword to her because I'm not who I am without her. And you know, it's to me, this I call it a project because that's just the way my mind works. This book project,
right?
It's for youth care. It's for people that work with people, and I think that is one of the most important jobs out there. Is when somebody has given their time to work with the messy life of someone else, in order for that person to organize their life so they can live somewhat normal. And that's what youth care workers do. That's what teachers do. That's what youth ministers do. That's what all the people that serve people do. And this is appreciation. I know it says youth care worker, but basically I'm talking to anybody that works with people that could benefit from this. And so, Drew, you work with people.
I do.
And you've given yourself to people, and you go home with people trauma because you work with people. And there's days you probably don't want to get on this podcast. There's days you probably don't want to coach anybody. There's probably days you have a client that's just not getting it, right? And there's days that can impact your purpose. You get to think like, why in the world I'm doing this? I can go back to my old job, right?
Right. Yeah.
And
yeah.
This book is for you too, because there's times where just having your own company and dealing with maybe clients that's not motivated or unsatisfactory clients, that can kill your purpose. And what I want to say is your job and jobs that like others that work with people is important. And I want everyone to stay connected to their purpose and why they do what they do, because we need everyone to continue to do what they do and feel good about it. This world needs you. I think I took more than 2 minutes.
It was a little more, but it was good. It was good. Well, Adrian, thank you so much for being on the show. Yeah. Listen, if you're listening to the show right now and you are in that ministry space, I'm using the magic M word here, but if you are dealing with people, so if you're a manager and you got folks of all different walks of life and you're trying to get all those different ducks to kind of get in the same row and to float on the same pond, if you're with kids and you're helping them manage the work, and I've had lots of friends that have been social work, and I know that how hard it is to carry that social work burden when you come home. Check out the Purpose-Driven Youth Care Worker. It's I put the link in on Amazon. If you want to reach out to Adrian, he's on LinkedIn at Adrian-P-Jackson- a whole bunch of things that look remarkably like this. But you can find him pretty easy on LinkedIn. Find your purpose. It's not enough to know that you need one. You got to find it, because that purpose is what's going to carry you through that dark hole, through that valley of death, if you will, and to the next side. And find it with another group of people. Maybe you have a decent idea of why you do this. Maybe you know why you sell insurance. Maybe you know why you sell real estate or whatever it is that you do. Your team needs to figure that out too. I know that you've walked that hole, but be the leader that you need to be, and help host that discussion and give them space to find their purpose, just like you did, which is what's leading to your success. Reach out to Adrian, tell him you saw him on the Drew Sutton Leadership Show, and go check out his book on Amazon. And so with that, we are out. We are out.